Hey guys, welcome back to Just BSing. I'm Chris, this is Steven. And as you know, we're two longtime friends who decided to take our offline BS online and BS with you. So today we're going to be discussing or just BSing on, our favorite childhood action figures.
Yeah, I think we all have kind of our childhood favorites. So we're men of a certain age.
Yes.
So we
Distinguished gentlemen.
distinguished gentlemen. Most of our choices here are going to be from the 80s and 90s.
Correct, sir.
When we were young lads. So I think we're going to do our top 5. We'll keep it there. I'm sure we each have so many we could talk about, but I think we'll kind of cap it at the top 5. And we'll just kind of bounce back and forth, talk about our 5 favorites. I don't think these are really going to even be in any particular order. It's just going to be the first 5 that come to our heads. We didn't discuss this beforehand. We don't have anything written down, so we're just kind of, as we like to say, freeballing this discussion. Why don't you kick us off, Chris? What is your first favorite action figure line?
First favorite action figure line, so I guess it would be number 5.
Number 5.
I'm going to go with my G.I. Joes.
G.I. Joes! Classic G.I. Joes.
Yeah, I just barely remember playing with them, really, but as a child, G.I. Joe is all over the place. So I just remember G.I. Joe, Cobras. I had a lot of the different action figures just in general. I think I only remember like Duke, I think was the guy's name.
Cobra Commander, maybe?
I wonder if Duke is like the inspiration for Duke Nukem now that I think about it. Anyhow, Cobra, of course. So, yes.
Let us know in the comments if Duke is the inspiration, or Duke Nukem is the inspiration from Duke. That would be great.
That's great. Yeah. So I do remember those as being one of my top toys as a kid, action figures, but I don't remember much anything else about them.
All right. I don't remember much about them either. It's not going to be in my top 5. I'll let you know right now. But I do remember, I don't know if you ever saw this line. It was the Mortal Kombat action figures, and they were based off of the G.I. Joe design.
Oh no!
And I did have those, and I really enjoyed.
Okay.
Really enjoyed those. Yeah, those are a great line, and you could kind of mix and mingle them with your G.I. Joes. So the G.I. Joes that I did have and that I did play with as a kid were like fodder for my Mortal Kombat main characters. So they would be like, the henchmen or whatever that the main characters would have to get through before they got to like Raiden or Liu Kang or something like that. Really cool little line. If you haven't seen it, you should check them out. We should pop some pictures of them up in this video if you can find them. Number 5 for me, I think I'm going to go with the Masters of the Universe line.
Excellent.
He-Man, Skeletor. I think those. We didn't talk about this beforehand, so I don't have the years, but I know those were kind of early to mid 80s.
Yes.
So they actually came out, I think, before I even realized what action figures I was playing with. But I do remember them being around. So I know my parents bought them for me, and they were some of the first action figures I remember playing with.
Yes.
Had almost the entire collection. God, I wish I'd have saved them because they're worth so much now. But yeah, I had all of they had different iterations of He-Man and Skeletor, like the battle armor and battle damage, and had all of those. I had, Cringer and Panther and all of those. It was a great line, still a great line. In fact, they've been making retro versions of those action figures.
They have.
And so those are, obviously still strike a nerve with people because the design is still really good. The bow-legged design. In fact, I think even WWE has come out with the He-Man inspired Masters of the Universe action figures.
That makes sense. I like that.
In the last couple of years. So yeah, number 5 for me, Masters of the Universe.
Well, I can't go too far because number 4 was my Master of the Universe.
Very nice.
I was going to say, actually, I have the battle damage, both He-Man and Skeletor.
You still have them?
I still have them.
Oh, very cool.
Didn't know we were going to be going over this topic today. Otherwise, I would have dug them out.
We could have talked about it.
Yeah, I brought them along. I do have Cringer. I have He-Man, Skeletor. I have Mossman, I think was his name, and possibly even was it Stinkoid or something like that?
Stinkor?
Or Stinkor or something?
Everything was or.
Yeah.
Like Skeletor, Stinkor.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Fistor.
I think that's the Pornhub line.
Well, I don't know. Wasn't he in the
Masturbators of the Universe?
No, not now. In the new series that just came out, he was like
I haven't seen the new series.
Fisto.
Fisto.
Yeah,
that's
close enough.
That's all kinds of inappropriate. Don't watch that. Don't watch that series.
No, watch it. It was great.
Oh, okay. Listen to him. Don't listen to me. I haven't seen it.
So yes, that's going to be my number 4. I'm not going to go into too much detail. You already did that.
All right, very cool. Very cool. Number 4 for me, I think I'm going to go with, this is probably the last series of action figures that I played with, and I was probably too old to play with them, but they were so cool. Power Rangers.
Okay.
From the 90s. I mean, just such an amazing line with the points of articulation. Probably one of the first action figure lines that gave you more than just kind of the arms raising and lowering and knee joints and things like that. Was a pain in the butt to find. They were always sold out everywhere. It was the inspiration for Jingle All the Way. That was the inspiration for Turbo Man and the kind of chaos around finding those for Christmas. But yeah, just the Zords and all the Rangers and their accessories and the villains and things like that. It's just a really, really well done line. And they've since come out with so many other iterations of the Power Rangers and the lines, and they've again started going kind of retro and kind of put out the same kind of figures that they were putting out in the 90s, updated for today with, interchangeable heads so you can have them look like their civilian look and everything. Really cool. I'm not a current collector, so I haven't picked any of them up, but if I were, I would certainly consider picking those up. It was a really, really great line for a really good show. And we recently lost, the gentleman who played the Green Ranger and the White Ranger, Jason David Frank. So if you're a fan and you want to pick those up, highly recommend those lines.
Excellent. Okay. So my number 3, I'm going to cheat, and it's actually going to be a tie.
Okay, I'll allow it.
Because I've played with these two a lot, but they're not as much as my top 2 picks. So it's going to be the Ghostbusters action figures and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Both of those were action figures I played with the most, but I had a lot of the different ones. Of course, I had every Ninja Turtle, Splinter, Shredder, Leo, Michelangelo, Raphael.
Yeah.
For the Ghostbusters, it was based on the cartoon show, The Real Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
So had all those characters as well. Still have all of those too. They're actually at my brother's house.
Very nice.
Yes.
Very nice.
And we have a lot of the, even the turtle van and everything, but I still have a lot of those action figures. So I had to cheat and put that as a tie for my number 3.
Well, sir, I think we're on the same wavelength here. And I wasn't originally going to do this, but I am now. Since you did it, I'm going to go ahead and exact same thing. Now, my number 3 is going to be a tie between Ghostbusters and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Sweet.
Originally, my number 3 was just going to be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But you reminded me of the Ghostbusters line, and you reminded me that I used to interchange those a lot and play. In fact, a lot of the times, my Ghostbusters were my turtles before they mutated. Or they would be turned into humans and have to turn back into turtles. I'd have this whole like storyline set up. But yes, I 100% agree with everything you just said. They were great lines, both of them. Wish I still had mine. I'm really jealous that you have yours, so you should bring them over sometime. Not saying that we're going to sit down and play.
Maybe.
We're definitely going to sit down and play. I had most of the Turtles lines. I also had the movie line, the Ninja Turtles movie line, which were a little more flexible.
Do you have a couple of those as
well?
well?
Yeah, they were really cool. I really liked those a lot. I had probably near a complete set of the Turtles for sure. I don't think I had the full set of the Ghostbuster. I did have the Ecto one. I had the Firehouse, which 9 times out of 10 wasn't even used for Ghostbusters. I used it for other action figures and that kind of thing, just because it was like cool to have a building.
Right.
I did have the Turtle van as well. Yeah, man, great lines. And again, these are lines that are coming back out.
Yep.
For retro lines, and they have, just one-to-one, completely just remade them. So I'm doing the same cheat as you, tied number 3, Ghostbusters and Ninja Turtles.
Excellent. I like it. It's good picks.
It's a good pick.
Good pick. Number 2 for me, Transformers.
Ooh, nice.
I played with those guys all the time. Still have some of them, of course.
Yep.
Actually, and they're actually at my house. So I have. It was kind of like an anniversary edition of Optimus Prime. It was really cool. He was like Super Optimus, where he could turn his trailer into like this big body Optimus. And then he had like a big Optimus Prime head that you could like pop out and put on top. He had like a little engine that you could put in his body, so then you could actually just make him small Optimus Prime.
Yeah, I remember those. Yeah.
And then his trailer also turned into like a fortress or a base, you know.
Yeah.
So that was Optimus Prime. But I have like a hot rod. Or Rodimus Prime, even from the movie. Some of them I don't even know.
And
their
they had
names.
the Dinobots and stuff.
They
too,
had the
right?
Dinobots,
which I think is the one that I collected most of.
Yeah, I remember having the Dinobots, but I don't have them anymore now. Or at least I had one of them. I had like the Stegosaurus one. But,
okay.
Had a lot of those action figures. Played with those all the dang time. Broke them, of course, so that's why I probably.
They're so easy to break.
I still have one of my McDonald's Transformers action figures. I remember it because it was really great. Back in those days, they had the toys that were actually metal, and then this one actually shot sparks out of the back end whenever you were.
I do remember that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. You know what? I feel like we should jump in and just call an honorable mention to McDonald's Happy Meals toys of the 80s and
definitely.
90s. I mean, can you remember when they were you would go to McDonald's several times a day just so you could collect all of the different like you would go to McDonald's at different, and your poor parents had to drive you around if they were as nice as our parents were.
Exactly.
Man, I remember like the Looney Tunes superheroes, like Bugs Bunny dressed as Superman.
I remember those. They had
Daffy dressed as Batman. Like they just had amazing toys for McDonald's.
Well, McDonald's.
I digress.
Yeah, well, they're bringing it all back. That's why this last Halloween they brought back the Boo Bucket.
They
and,
did.
Whatever.
They did. Yeah.
So those were great. But yes, great call out to that.
That's a fantastic line. I wasn't my favorite, but I certainly did collect a few of them, and I played with them and kind of mixed and matched with other action figures that I did. I'm gonna cheat again since I cheated for number 3. So I'm gonna do another 2-way tie, and it's going to be the Hasbro WWF action figures.
Okay.
And RoboCop.
RoboCop
line.
nice.
So initially, my original number 3 was going to be the Hasbro WWE, and then number 2 was going to be RoboCop. But we'll combine them all into number 2. Hasbro, it was the line that really got me into wrestling, and I was a wrestling fan, hardcore wrestling fan up until probably about 2015 or 2016. And that line kicked it all off for me. I saw Jake the Snake and Ultimate Warrior, and at Toys R Us we were looking for another action figure, a Batman action figure that was just impossible to find. My mom was like, well, we can get you something else. And I saw those, and they reminded me of superheroes. They were wearing the tights, they all had the muscles and everything. Had no idea what wrestling was. My dad showed me, and I was instantly hooked. So that Hasbro line, I still have a ton of them. They're in a storage facility somewhere. They just hold up to this day. Like, this was before face scan technology, and so many of the faces and the likenesses just looked fantastic. And then the RoboCop line is incredible that they even had a line of action figures for RoboCop, given the movie was about as rated R as you can be. But my parents were a little bit more progressive, so I watched that at a very young age, and I shouldn't have. Explains so much about my personality now, I'm sure. But I love the movie. I love the action figures even more. They had the caps, like you put caps in the back there. And
I remember that.
They would shoot and have smoke. And
they actually had metal in the back.
They had metal in the back.
They don't put metals in toy anymore.
It was
except for screws.
Completely unsafe. Like I am sure we're all going to come down with some kind of a disease from the action figures that we played with. But man, it was a fun line. That was also a Kenner line, I believe. And I say that because I think they reconstituted some of the parts for like the Batman line. So I think there was a motorcycle that was part of the RoboCop line that became part of the Batman line. Repainted, of course. But yeah, just really cool villains, really cool heroes. They had heroes that weren't part of the movie, and there was actually a RoboCop cartoon that came out after the action figures that kind of took some of that into consideration, where they didn't shoot bullets, they shot lasers. but the toys were very much replicating bullets with the caps. So it was really, really fun line. I really enjoyed playing with that one.
Well, I don't know if you remember, but the original Transformers, Megatron actually turned into a pistol, a handheld pistol. So,
oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so he's had multiple iterations since then where he's turned into tanks and planes and everything like that. But he used to turn into a pistol, and Starscream, you'd actually be able to shoot him and stuff like that. And that was cool, but you just remind me of that.
Okay.
So before I get to my number one, I've got a couple honorable mentions.
All right.
So action figures that I did play a lot with, just didn't make my top 5, 6,
Who's counting?
One is RoboCop.
Oh, very nice.
Series.
Very nice.
Along the lines of RoboCop, Rambo. I don't know if you ever saw the Rambo action figure.
I did. I had those as well.
I had his Jeep as well. So
I had there. Now there was a Rambo movie line of the action figures, and there was also a Rambo cartoon line of action figures, which were very different.
Yeah.
But I do remember having
line.
both. Yeah, I remember having little bits of both, but I certainly remember the movie line. It looked just like Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
It was amazing likeness there.
And then the last is Aliens.
Oh,
they had an Aliens line, so I remember specifically having a lot of the Marine Corps, but then they also had a huge line of Alien action figures when Alien 3 came out. Some that were like, this wasn't even in the movie, but here they have it, so.
Do you still have those as well?
I may have Rambo. I don't know. I'll have to take a look.
Yeah.
We do have a good box of toys from my mom's house.
Very cool.
So I have to go look through those.
Very cool.
So my number one, if you haven't figured this one out, is going to be the Superpowers action figures lines. If so, you guys are going to like our next video. You guys are going to love this coming up. But yes, we had the Superpowers as action figures just in general. There's Superman, Batman, Penguin, Joker. You had everybody, and Super Friends was big when I was also that young lad.
Right.
So definitely all-time favorite toy action figures. Still have a couple of those. Probably pretty well beaten up, but I do still have a couple of those as well. So
very nice, very nice. Well, I'm going to go ahead and throw a couple more honorable mentions in as well.
As you should.
Since we since we are kicking those off. Still include the McDonald's in my honorable mentions for sure. I'm also going to include the LJN WWF action figures that were like yay tall. They were much larger. Didn't have any articulation. That was actually got into those after getting into the Hasbro. So this came before. These were like early days of WWF with Andre the Giant and Iron Sheik and. Really cool line. That you could bounce them around and things like that. They kind of made of rubber.
Okay.
Not posable at all, but really fun to play with.
Really, it wasn't Stretch Armstrong.
Wasn't
stuff.
Stretch. It was similar, but they didn't stretch. Really cool line. God, I wish I'd have saved them because they're worth quite a bit of money now. Another honorable mention for me, I think, is going to be the Terminator 2 line.
I forgot I had some of those too.
Yeah, they were, I again, don't remember the manufacturer. It may have been, I don't think it was Kenner, because they were kind of a different part. We'll pop it into the video somewhere. Yeah. Right up here. But no, they really cool little line there. They had action features. So like one of the Terminator action figures, the Arnold Schwarzenegger likeness, like the face would the face and chest would pop off, and it was this exoskeleton underneath.
I forgot all about those. Had that exact one.
Yeah, they were really fun. They were good little line there. Again, the likenesses without kind of the facial scanning that we have today, the likenesses were amazing. Kind of like the Rambo that you mentioned. So, no surprise to anyone. Again, number one for me is also the Kenner Superpowers line. These came out kind of like the Masters of the Universe that I talked about earlier. They came out, I think they were 1984. Kenner was 1984. Masters of the Universe was probably around the same time.
They all blurred together.
Really. But these were figures that, my earliest memories of action figures, that's what because my parents would buy them for me, they were there. And then when I started having memories, that's what I remember playing with. And of course the 1978 Superman Christopher Reeve movie, check our other videos out. We did some watch-alongs with those. Those were already out. We grew up watching them. That was really kind of the first Superman action figure that I remember seeing.
Yeah.
And they were fantastic. And yeah, like Chris said, you're going to love our next video. Check that out when it drops, because we're going to be talking a little bit about Kenner and some of the newer action figures that are replicating that line. It's an amazing line, like holds up even today. The colors are vibrant. The action figures are right out of the comics. I mean, they look exactly like the comic art of the time. Really cool characters. They had a huge line. Again, I wish I'd have saved all of the ones that I have. I have a few.
It's all hindsight.
You'll see a few of them actually. Yeah, it's all hindsight. You'll see a few of them actually in the next video as well. But man, just a beautiful line and worth so much money now.
You mentioned that, and for the longest time, I had Snake Mountain for He-Man. I had that, and it was great because you could actually take it and it was a microphone. You could talk into it, and I had that for the longest time. I refused to get rid of it. My mom finally convinced me to get rid of it, and now I'm like, Mom.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, same with me. It was that peer pressure of I was still dabbling in action figures when I was, again, way too old. We talked about Power Rangers
exactly.
earlier.
I was getting too old for the toys.
It was the peer pressure.
It was the right choice to do, but
everyone, you were too cool to play with toys and all of that. Well, now I'm, an older gentleman, as we talked about earlier. And man, I'd love to sit down and play with all of those action figures.
I would too, but the ladies wouldn't, or the girls, wouldn't have been impressed with, you having toys and action figures.
Hey, I'm married now. I'll have my wife come and play too.
Now, but when you're trying to actually date, Yeah, yeah. Well, you could have. There's probably hiding places where you could have still had them and still. Parents didn't want to store your junk. You know that.
This is true. This is true. Yeah. For the same token, my parents convinced me to get rid of a lot of the action figures that I did. Yeah. We sold them at garage sales back when garage sales were a thing, and sold them for pennies on the dollar. And now I would be raking in six figures selling them if I had all the ones that I used to have.
So my wife and I still love to hit up garage sales. We look for the community garage sales all the time. We'll see if there's anything good going on the weekends. But we look for those community garage sales because you can
find some great things.
You still find great things at garage sales. I've seen videos. That's how some people make their livings. They go around finding that stuff still. So, no, it's garage sales definitely. I don't think have as cool things anymore.
No, and they're not as many as they used to. It was every weekend.
Definitely not.
Every weekend when I was a kid, there was garage sales.
Garage sales every weekend, and some people price things just insane. They're the same prices you can buy them at the store. Not gonna buy this.
They check eBay before they put everything out, and they think they're gonna get eBay prices.
Exactly.
It's just not in the condition that you're finding it on eBay usually. And I remember, do you remember the church garage sales, the bazaars and stuff like that, where it was an event. You would go and they would have hot dogs and stuff like that. And
good luck finding RoboCop or
no, not a whole lot of RoboCop or Terminator action figures at the church. They did have. I do remember finding some wrestling action figures at a church garage sale before. So they were this was before Attitude Era. So they were still okay having some of those more cartoony action figures at the church.
Yep. But I think, guys, that's going to be it for this video. Hey, comment below on your favorite toys, your favorite action lines.
Yeah, if you're younger than us, let us know what we've been missing over the last few years, because we are not caught up on a lot of the current lines.
Yeah, honestly, the last real line before this new one that came out was in the 90s for me. It was the Death and Return of Superman action figure line that came out.
Yeah.
That was a great one. I still have all of those.
I do as well, actually.
I never played with those. I just got them because they look cool.
They do. They do. Yeah, that was the Mullet Superman, right?
Mullet Superman, and they had plastic capes for pretty much everything.
Yes, they did, with the little pegs in there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wish I'd have brought them in here. I actually have them in the next room.
Oh, didn't know you did that. So we both have
you know what?
Still.
We're gonna do a cut. I'm gonna go bring a couple of them in here. All right. So we're no rinky-dink operation here. We actually have some of these action figures that we're talking about.
Yeah, we do. This is great.
This is that Man of Steel line that Chris referenced. We got Clark and Doomsday here. The very Nicolas Cage-looking Superman. from the Death and Return line with the long hair.
With the long hair, as you can see, Nicolas Cage actually nailed it.
I mean,
with the long hair at the time and stuff. So he would have been actually a good Superman.
That would have been he was.
I couldn't imagine like, whoa.
This is a Street Guardian Superman that in my young age I drew a beard on because I thought he would look cooler with a beard. I don't know why I grew one.
Inspiration for the Blur, I guess, in Smallville.
Yeah, I can see that. Now, we talked about wrestling.
Just without the flat top,
Yeah, without the flat.
That's Gozer.
We talked about wrestling. I remember back when the NWO kicked off and Sting turned into the Crow version. This was kind of my answer to that. Was like everyone turned on Superman, so he turned on them and became the vigilante Superman. This is a Lex Luthor that came with it was like a Hornet, accessory where you could fly around and sting with kryptonite or something like that. I don't know.
Actually, I don't remember that one. So.
I don't have the Hornet thing anymore, but I still have the Lex. We have Superboy with the cool little S on the back of the jacket. This was the regeneration suit. I added a cape to it. I think this is a Robin cape.
Okay,
I added a cape.
100%. Okay, I like that.
He originally did not have the cape, so you can pop that off. But that's the regeneration suit Superman. And then we have Conduit, childhood friend of Clark Kent. Ironically enough, mask comes off.
As funny as like in the comics, they only had him for that one series, that one line, and he never made appearance again. But that was a good comic line that they had.
No, this was great. Yeah. And this is. I'm blanking on his name. Is that Massacre?
It's blanking on me too because
I think that's Massacre.
I believe you are correct.
And it came in a 2-pack with this Superman, which battle damaged Superman, and then we had a Doomsday and this Superman that came in a 2-pack. And I always thought that should have been reversed. I feel like this Superman would have been better with this.
It is Massacre, just FYI. Yep.
This Superman would have been better with this action figure as a 2-pack, and Superman with the battle damage suit would have been better with Doomsday.
Well, but did you ever read the comic line with that Superman?
No, I didn't.
So pretty much it was Superman and Doomsday's second bout. It was like a
Dressed
3.
like that?
Yeah, pretty much it was a mother box add-on that basically bulked up Superman so he could easily take on Doomsday. But it was only like a 3 or 4 comic spin-off, like kind of a side story. So that was another great one though. But yes.
Yeah, this is definitely another honorable mention for me. And this is a fantastic line. Obviously, good enough for me to hold on to for the majority of them.
Now seeing all these, because I have all these as well. Yeah, it's going to be added into my honorable mentions. I didn't really play with them as much, but I still just love them so much.
I feel like
really cool.
we could just kind of tack this, not even an honorable mention, just kind of tack it on to our superpowers line.
Yeah,
because
number 1.
Also made by Kenner.
Yeah, okay.
So these, in fact, this Clark Kent came with a coupe. And the coupe was the same coupe that was used probably in several other lines, but definitely in the Batman line that came with a Michael Keaton action figure.
Yes.
Same coupe. Same exact one. It's a quick changed one. You slid out and then you could have Superman in there or whatever. But
I may still have it. I'll have to check.
I do not have the coupe anymore.
I may have gotten rid of it. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
And then we have Steel as well. I lost the cape and the sledgehammer. I know. They're not lost. They're around here somewhere.
Do you have Superboy's bike?
I do not.
I've got that. I'll have to bring that.
Yeah.
He's like.
I never saw a sense in getting a bike for Superboy.
I don't even remember him having it in the comics. I think that's just something that they added.
And I think that was also a repurposed Batman vehicle as well. I think it was like a Robin bike or something.
More than likely. Just something to sell.
So that was the little extra for you there. We decided to go ahead and grab that and show you what we're talking about. Yeah. For any of the other action figures we referenced, we won't
Stay tuned for that.
Stay tuned for that, and we'll also pop up some little pictures and things like that, so everyone, because I were right up here, right over here,
maybe back over there,
right over there,
over there,
right in there, maybe down there, down where?
Down here. Oh wait, not doing that. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
DX.
So again, let us know your favorites in the comment section. We would love to hear from you, and we will. I guess we'll just catch you in the next one. Take care.
Take care, guys.